Okay, Shorty, would you like to tell us your name?
My name is Orvalee Leslie. My grandfather's name was Orville, and my grandmother's name was Lee, and so my mother thought she'd be cute and make my name Orvalee, and so I never cared much for my name.
And that's why you want us to
But
call you
when I
Shorty.
was little, there was a drink that was fortified milk. It's still around, I think. It's called Ovaltine. And so most kids didn't like to drink it, but their mothers made them drink it. So when I go out in the playground, they call me Ovaltine instead of Orvalee to make me mad, you know.
Oh.
So one day my friend said, we should just call you Shorty. You're the smallest kid in the class. And I said, yeah, call me Shorty. And ever since I've been called Shorty. And everybody calls me Shorty. So if my obituary doesn't say Shorty on it, no one will know who I am. Because I've had that name for so long, you know. So I mean Shorty to everybody, and Grandma Shorty, and it's just my name. It's not offensive to me or anything. To me, it's just my name.
They call you Grandma Shorty.
Sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's great. So we really want to say thanks for letting us come and talk to you today. And we'd love to know more about you. We'd love to know about what it was like when you were growing up. Maybe you could tell us where you grew up and maybe a favorite memory of growing up.
Okay, I grew up in Sheridan, which is in the west side of Pittsburgh. And I was an only child till my sister was born 17 years later. But I was the only child, and our grandparents lived with us too. And so I was pretty privileged because my grandparents took me on a lot of vacations and stuff. And since I was an only child, I had to make do with myself or with my friends to figure out. I would have liked to have had a sibling, but I didn't, you know, so. But anyhow, and I grew up, when I was, in 1941, I was 11, and that was when the war started. And I can still remember on that Sunday, we had this big radio, it stood on the floor. They used to make console radios, they're big tall things, like a piece of furniture. And my grandfather was sitting there, and I was sitting there, and we heard the news come over the radio that it was bombing at Pearl Harbor. And at first my dad said, "Where's Pearl Harbor?" You know, we didn't know. So my grandfather said, "That's in Hawaii." And my grandfather looked at me and he said, "Honey, your whole world changes today because something's going to happen and we're going to be in war." I didn't even know what the name war meant, really, when you think about it. So I grew up from the time I was 11 till the war was over. I guess I was 15 or something. So we used to go to Sheridan Methodist Church, which I belonged to then. And we would roll bandages for the soldiers and stuff. And it was a difficult time. It really was. Because lots of things were rationed. You couldn't get sugar, you couldn't get butter. And in your car, you only got gas in your car. You had a sticker on your window. And it would be a 1 or 2 or a 3 or something. And if it was a number 1, maybe you got to get all the gas you could get because you were important to the effort. And if you come down to number 3 or 4, you were lucky when you got your gasoline for your car. People don't realize that there were a lot of things you couldn't get and you couldn't do because we didn't know any better. Everybody had victory gardens to make food for ourselves and everything like that. But I can't remember how oleomargarine came around. There wasn't any butter. So you had a big bag and it had like lard in it and a capsule with orange coloring. And you knead the bag like crazy to make make the oleo look like butter. Sometimes you got the butter on the table look streaky because it wasn't needed enough. So we learned to share, we learned to do with what we had to do. And so then I was fortunate because my father didn't have to go to war because he had a job that was vital to the war effort. But a lot of people in the neighborhood, their fathers were all gone, so. And then I remember when the war was over, we all went downtown to Pittsburgh. People were hugging and kissing, and people were climbing up light poles and stuff like that. And it was a wonderful memory, it really was. All the boats on the river were beeping and all the trolley cars were doing stuff. So it was a wonderful memory, it really was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about all I can say about my younger life. And I went to Langley High School, and I enjoyed going to high school. And I thought I was going to go to college because I like journalism and writing, pure poetry and stuff. But then I met my husband when I was 16. He was from the north side of Pittsburgh, Ferry High School, and I went to Langley. And we met at a Halloween dance, and we dated for 2 years. And then he joined the military, and we got married at 18, and we were married for 58 years. So I guess 18, we knew what we were doing, I guess.
You must have known what you were doing.
So. And I lived in Seattle for a couple of years, Tacoma, Washington, when my husband was in the military. And I did not like it.
No?
People were not friendly. And I didn't like the rain every day, so mostly rains all the time up there. Then we came back, and I've had 5 children: Bill, Jimmy, Sherry, and Kevin and Brian. So it was fun. We used to call our house the zoo because it was always chaotic with 5 kids in it, but we had fun. And my husband was very religious. He always read the Bible every year. He read straight through the Bible. And so when we were going to the little Woodrow Church it's down near Bridgeville, and so my husband became an elder there. And then he volunteered to be the youth minister there. And so for a couple of years, he was a youth minister there, and he enjoyed that very much. And he took the kids to see Billy Graham when he was here. And that was a good memory for my kids. They enjoyed that, I think, and so. And so one day years ago, I was walking down by the giant old green tree, and when my husband was doing the youth fellowship, we had dances at our house and stuff with them, and not just always talking about religion. And so one day I was walking by Giant Eagle, and I saw 3 men standing there, and so the kids used to call us Mr. Les and Mrs. Les. And so I heard someone say, Mrs. Les, like that, and I turned around, and this guy named Dave, he was talking to these 2 men, and he said, I was sorry to hear about your husband passing. And he said to these 2 men, he said, her husband did so much to turn my life around. I'm indebted to him forever. And he hugged me, and I said, that was the greatest feeling I could have had.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so my husband was very dedicated to the church, very much so. So anyhow. But we just switched churches. So we switched churches and a couple of times till we ended up at Mount Lebanon Church. Yeah, so when we moved to Mount Lebanon, we went to South Mesa for a while, but I just didn't click there. So I went to Mount Lebanon UP Church. I enjoyed it much more friendly. And I used to volunteer at the youth service when they used to have I don't know if they still do that or not. They used to have a dinner, have Bible study, and then do games and stuff. And Bob Maribel was in charge of it, and it was wonderful. The kids were wonderful. So, And then all my grandkids, my grandchildren went to Surf City, Michigan with the church in the summertime, and they enjoyed that. I used to go over and wait for the bus with them because their mother and dad were working, and so they'd stay at my house overnight, and then the day that they were going to Surf City, I'd take them over in the morning to wait for the bus. So Steve probably won't want me to tell you this, but Steve Guzza,
A goozy.
So the bus was there to go to Surf City, and so he was not there. so they lived right down the street from the church, and I forget the name. I guess it was like Tony at the top they lived. And so somebody had to run down and knock on the door and wake him up. So he came up, and the bus was we're still waiting there, sitting on the curb, just waiting for the bus to go to Surf City. And so he's saying he's sorry and all that, and we're getting on the bus, and the bus is just ready to take off, and we saw his guitar laying on the sidewalk, and Steve, you forgot your guitar. I still remember that, so that was fun, so. And then one time at the church, they took, for the youth group, they took those gutters that you have on your house, you know, the gutters, rain gutters, and they put foil in them, and they put them on those horses, and they're two big long ones, and they filled it up with ice cream. This is no lie. They put all kinds of ice cream, and of course then they had the spray can of whip. But of course you know what happened with that. They were running around squirting each other. But Bob made it so much fun for the kids when they went to fellowship. They had their fellowship in their church, but he made going to church be funny. And no lie, this is one other thing that happened. You're not going to believe this. One time we took baked spaghetti, till it was soft, and brought a whole bunch of it to the church. And the room was called the Well, and it was already dilapidated. They were going to renew it. So he decided to have a spaghetti fight in the room because it didn't matter because the room was going to get renovated. But I still remember how ridiculous that was. Anyhow, the kids loved it, you know. So who doesn't want to come back to church the next week, you know? So I have very fond memories of Bob Arabella because my kids adored him. And he taught them a lot. They did a lot of mission trips to different cities. They went to South Dakota to a reservation out there, and they learned how sadly those people live. They went to someplace, where is it, wherever Elvis Presley's house is, where that is.
No.
And that's down in
Nashville, maybe?
Yeah, Nashville, or
No.
Memphis, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they
Memphis.
went there to do street fellowship on the street. They talked to people and stuff. They were not impressed with Elvis's house at all, so yeah, that didn't make a good impression. But my church, I loved the church because I think it was very welcoming and everything. Like I said, it was more like a family than a church situation. So I went there as long as I could. Yeah. I don't know what else you want me to tell.
It's so fun to hear your memories. It sounds like you would have been a lot of fun too, because you enjoy fun things like that.
Oh yeah, I do enjoy children a lot, you know, so I enjoy children a lot. And I enjoyed going to that youth dinner once a week. We did the youth dinner. They had a woman that lived on a farm somewhere. I think her worship it. She was the one that did all the cooking. She was very good at that. So yeah, so.
And your kids like to go, it sounds like.
Oh yes, they did. They loved it.
Because it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. So they still have a youth group there now?
There is still a youth group, and I think they do still have those dinners.
What did you say?
They do still have get-togethers for dinner like that. But we don't have a cook anymore. But,
Yeah, so I know they.
So you helped with the youth program. Do you remember participating in any other ways that were fun to you in church?
Well, I did go to Sunday school for a while. I forget the name of the one. I forget the name of the group.
Well, there was a 79ers group.
I think maybe that's what it was.
It was Wiley Busey and Nancy Busey.
I don't know if I was in that one. I was in another one,
Helpmates.
but I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
I did that for a while. So, so but I enjoyed going to that stuff. But anyhow.
Do you remember a time in your life when your faith was especially important to you?
Well, yes, my son Brian, when he was like 6, he was riding his bicycle and he got hit by a car. And unfortunately, the person that saw him laying on the street was a doctor. And the doctor picked him up and put him in a car and drove him to St. Clair, which he shouldn't have done, they say, because he could have got sued. But he was humane enough to do it. And my son was in pretty critical condition. We took him to St. Clair, and then they decided he needed more care than they could give him, so we opened the ambulance to Mercy Hospital. And so he was in a coma for 4 days. We didn't know whether he was going to be all right or not, but finally he was, thank gosh. And so at first he couldn't talk very well, couldn't walk very well, so then he had to learn to walk again, and his talking did come back. And so we lived on Lindy Road in Scott Township. We had a big swimming pool there, so my daughter was like 15, and so she was at the pool all the time, so she would take him down. When he finally could walk again, they'd go down to the pool almost every single day. And when we went back to the doctor, the head doctor, I forget the name of it, he was amazed at the progress that he made. And he said that the swimming did it, the motion of the swimming. So Brian loved the water. He loved to dive off the diving boards and stuff like that. And so because of that, when he joined the Navy, he decided he wanted to be a Navy diver.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and so he's a Navy diver for 21 years. Very, very, very dangerous job, you know, so but he did it for 21 years. It went all over the world. He was in a unit called MUDSU, which Mobile Underwater Salvage Unit. And at first he was just in the regular Navy, but when he got the expertise with the diving, he always had to have a suitcase packed, and different countries would ask for assistance if there was some kind of problem in their waterway that they needed help removing. He helped remove something from Panama Canal, the Suez Canal, and Naples, Italy, and different places. And he would just get a call, and he'd have to go get the suitcase and go. They would buy airplane and stuff, not just the ship, you know.
Oh, I see.
Sometimes he was on a ship and they had to do different stuff like that too, but most of the time he was like an expert on driving, so. He loved it for 21 years, so. It did affect his hearing though, somewhat from being in the deep water for so many years. So he had to wear 2 hearing aids, but he still loves the water, so anyhow.
Isn't that something? God made something good out of something that was very serious, didn't he?
Well, when he was a child, my other kids went to college, and we get all these brochures from college. He'd have a look at them, and he would get this little thing from the Navy. He would study it. And so when he was 18, as soon as he graduated, he went down and enlisted without telling us.
Oh.
And then he came home and told us that he enlisted in the Navy. We went, what? And so it was the best thing he could have done because we would have tried to talk him out of it.
Oh,
You know, we would have tried to say, no, you should go to college. But so sometimes it's better not to interfere with what people think they want to do. So he made the right decision there. So.
and we parents think that we know what they should do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. But
Mhm.
sometimes they know what they should do. So anyhow, so. And I'm very fortunate. I have a lovely family. My son Jimmy went to the United States Air Force Academy. He just passed away this past year. And so they had a very beautiful ceremony out at the National Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very nice and very emotional. So, and he was in the military, so. Yeah.
That was a very big honor for him to be able to go to the military academy, wasn't
Oh,
it?
yes.
He must have had very good.
He had very good grades and everything, yeah, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, he got him, yeah, so he went to the military academy. Yeah, so,
So you've had several service people in your family.
well, my husband's family during the war, he had 3 brothers in the war. And when you had someone in the war, you had a little flag you put in your window.
Mm-hmm.
And as many servicemen as you had to have a blue star, a red back, white, red, white, and blue, a blue star for each one in the military. And my mother-in-law and father were so proud to have their windows that had 3 blue stars in it, and so they had 3 people in it. And so, and if you were missing in action, you had a silver star.
Mm-hmm.
And if you passed away, you had a gold star in the window. And so then my husband enlisted in the army when the Korean War was on. He was in the Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
And then his younger brother enlisted right after he did. So 5 in the family all were in the military. So kind of in our blood a little bit, you know, so.
You have a great granddaughter who's in the
Yeah,
military,
so,
right?
yeah, so we've had a lot of military in our family.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, so. We in front of our house, we had a flagpole. And we put the flag up every morning and took it down every evening. So I said to my kids, recently, I said to them, come and think of it, because we were the only one in the neighborhood that had a flagpole. Did that make you feel funny, like it was a dumb thing to do? And they both said, no, we loved it.
Oh, that's great.
You know, we loved it. And I went, okay. He said, Daddy told us how to fold the flag when it come down off the flagpole. We always took care of it and took it down so it didn't get messed up, you know. So anyhow, it's all right to be different sometimes, you know.
It sounds like you did an awesome job being a parent,
Mm-hmm.
both you and your husband. It sounds like you raised your children
I hope so.
very well and with the right priorities.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is 52 of us. There's, not counting my husband and I, if we count them, would be 54, but I have 5 children, 11 grandchildren, and 21 great-grandchildren. So we have a great big family. And so we all keep pretty well in touch with each other. And we have reunions, like every 3 years, we have a reunion, and everybody tries to get there if they can. So we try to keep it together, you know, so we call it the Leslie clan.
The what clan?
The Leslie clan.
Leslie clan.
Yeah, Scotch, we are Scotch. So.
If there was anything that you would like to make sure that your children know, like a legacy to make sure you pass on, what would it be?
Well, my husband always said, when you have children, you have to build your foundation on solid ground. If you don't bring your children over to church, you're building your house on sand, and it's not going to work. So you always have the church in your children's life from the time they're small, and then your family will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing I can say. And another thing is, you should always make your children be loved. It doesn't matter if it's a neighbor that loves them or a friend that loves them. The more that love you can give your children, they'll grow up to be better because they have that sense of love.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, too, I've noticed in the conversations we've had over the past couple years that I've known you, I realized that you are one of the most optimistic persons I've ever met.
I don't know why you say that, but anyhow, well, I always look at life pretty on the sunny side, Mercy, I think, and try. On the sunny side, life walks around with the sad side, but anyhow, it's kind of difficult sometimes, But we always try to look at it as you can. I think I was fortunate because my husband grew up in a family that was very religious. My family was not very religious. And so because of his family being very religious, my husband was always made sure the kids went to Sunday school and church and stuff. And it was just a way of life. We didn't think anything different about it, So, and I think that makes a difference in the family. So
It sounds
nowadays, I think a lot of people have gotten away from it,
It does seem like that, based on attendance and numbers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So your husband's faith, it seems like, really affected your faith.
Yes, it did. It did. And he, even the Woodville Church had a bus even. And they go around with a bus and pick up people for Sunday school. And so sometimes he volunteered with that too. If they didn't have a bus driver, he'd drive around and pick up the people and go to church and stuff. But that Woodville Church was a nice little church, but then we moved away.
Right.
So.
Was that Woodville Church called Chartiers Valley
Yeah.
Church? Is it still there?
I think so. It's just up. It's not. It's right down the end of going to up on the hill there.
Right.
It's right next to St. Luke's as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a cute little church.
I don't know if it's still up there or not.
It is. They call it Chartiers
Mm-hmm.
Chartiers Presbyterian.
Well, who was it that told me? Was it a Papa John? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that. Oh, I don't know. Was she a minister?
Linda Pokerjack?
Yeah. No.
She went through seminary.
Yeah, well, she did her first sermon there, and she said that it was so bad she thought that she didn't know why anyone would listen.
Her first sermon. I actually preached there too when I was pretty young, starting out.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess so. Other people got their start there too. Yeah.
So
But it's a nice, friendly church.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
nice little church. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
nice little church. Yeah. My husband was Santa Claus there once too. So when they had a party for the kids. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there like a favorite Bible verse that you have?
Yeah. Let's see. I like rejoice in the Lord. Again, I rejoice. Do not be anxious about anything, because the Lord is near.
Mm-hmm.
When we say the Lord is near, with prayers and thanksgiving,
Present.
give your requests to the Lord, and the God will with peace overcoming everything and help you forever. So something like that.
Those are beautiful.
Something like that.
That was a beautiful little collage of your favorite verses.
I didn't say it quite all the way it should be,
But we know what you meant, because that was so beautiful. And I can see those suit you so well, because I can see that those 3 verses they are part of you.
The peace of the Lord will transcend all something or other. I forget the end of it. So yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that one. And I like this 23rd song too. That's one of my favorites.
It is, isn't it?
Okay,
Well, thank you. This was so wonderful.